Taking a breath. Welcome. I believe we are live, and I'm just going to check the community. There we are. Okay, perfect. So let's all take a breath together. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me on a Saturday morning, Max, for this
Pleasure.
tea and talk. And you have your tea, but I have water.
That's all good.
So, to everybody, I would like to, well, I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm Lisa McNett. I'm the founder of One Breath Institute, and decided to start this series of interviewing our students and our graduates, because we have some really amazing people who come through the program, and it's part of our intention to really support and nourish the support of our students and graduates as you are going out into the world and creating your practice, building your breathwork practice, your breathwork business, I was going to say, but some people don't like the word business, but we're creating a business in the healing world. So today we have Max, and I'm going to read to you a little bit about Max. Max has been facilitating spaces for conscious connection and exploration with others for over a year now at Ecstatic Temple in Montreal. He is training as a breathwork facilitator with OBI. He explores non-ordinary reality using different modalities, is continuously in training to deepen self-knowledge and tools in order to better help others to find their power. He combines a pragmatic and embodied approach in the material body as well as a spiritual approach. Max has recently upgraded his prime directive to help people become aware of their own consciousness and nurture consciousness to greater levels of awareness. I love that. Love it. Yeah, so there's so much. I have the great pleasure and great opportunity of connecting with you in classes weekly, and there's so much presence that you bring, and so much wisdom, and I experience you as embodying what you say, like walking your talk. So yeah, I guess I'd like to just first ask you, how your path brought you to breathwork.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty interesting one. Um, so I guess the story starts with. I guess the story really starts in 2020 when I met my partner. What happened is she's a somatic sex educator. And so through meeting her, I got exposed to the whole world of Tantra. And through that, I got exposed to something called ISTA, um, which is um, which is a school of the International School of Temple Arts. They offer trainings, and their level one is a training that essentially is really about self empowerment and getting to know yourself better. And through that training, essentially, I had my first breathwork experience. And in my first breathwork experience, like I connected very much with a spirit animal that told me that I must serve. But at that point, I'm working in IT. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Like, very nice. How? That was not provided with the message. and so and so through sort of working through it, keeping being in environments, getting curious, starting to read about different things about shamanism and other things, I was like, okay, some things are starting to call to me, and it feels like breathwork is aligned, and I really wanted to find a school that like combined both. And so I found a training in it, and through that, because I was facilitating at Ecstatic Temple, there was also something where I wanted to bring something new to that community, and nobody there was doing breathwork, and so that was also part of the process. And I wanted to contribute something to that community, not just sort of what I say, just be a vampire to the community. I was like, I want to grow this community, and by doing this, I think I can bring more people in through breathwork and through that modality. And so that was sort of the process of getting to breathwork, realizing a lot of the synchronicities in my life around breath. The fact that like there's something in my story, early origin story, that's related to breath, and so like sort of tying all of that together, um, did that. And then the training got canceled, and I found OBI a day before the training I'm currently in with you started, and it was an instant match with Debbie. When I connected with her, it was an instant, okay, this feels super aligned. They're trauma informed. It's everything that I'm looking for. So let's dive into this.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, so some things that really stood out to me. I love that first breath experience that you had and you connected with. You spirit told you you need to serve. You're like, okay, I need to serve. Where's the rest of the message?
Yeah, instructions not provided, right?
Yeah. I love that because it's really and truly like we're that takes away part of like the journey when you say like it needs to kind of unfold over time. It's like, okay, I need to serve, but there's something for me in the exploration of which direction this goes that, for you led to you making choices.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like there's, I think to me through that experience there was like also like this world, like the whole world of like, I'm talking about it as if like it's a given, but this was like, I'm a guy working in IT who goes to a training and starts getting messages, right? It's not like it's this thing. And I'd asked like the universe in a sense. I'd said, okay, I'm pretty much done with IT. I've done what I wanted to do. I've been a VP at like a startup. And so I was like, okay, like I'm just chasing bigger numbers at this point. I'm ready for what's next. I didn't expect this was going to be what was next, right? Like this just like happened. And I was like, is this it? This is it? Oh, we're doing this. Okay, we're doing this. And like, and sort of just like kind of went with it because that's what showed up, right? And I'd asked for something and I wasn't specific. So I guess I was like, okay, this is what we're doing.
No, thank you for bringing in that piece too, because it is, yeah, it is like you're like, I'm a dude working in IT. Like I've been part of startups. I've made lots of money. This was my career. This is the direction I was going. You meet your partner, you get introduced to the world of Tantra, you find Ishta, you have a breathwork experience, and then boom, you are receiving messages from the universe and going
Yeah.
down the path of the shaman.
Yes, like that's the thing, right? And so it's like it's also that piece where you're like, okay, how do I explain this to my friends? Like, right? Like there's this whole thing where you're like, my parents, my friends, like everyone around is like they're not gonna understand this. And so yeah, it wasn't as straightforward as now looking back it seems, right? Like
Yeah, well, I mean, I appreciate you sharing that part because I imagine a lot of people can relate to you. I mean, I can relate to that story myself when I was working at a really big resort in Florida, on Amelia Island, and I was part of the food and beverage team. I was managing a five-star restaurant. And I went to my supervisors and I said, I'm leaving my career and I'm going to India. And like up until the day that I left, they were like, are you really sure you want to do that? So yeah, I mean it takes a lot of courage, Max. It takes a lot of courage for you to say yes to that. To say yes to that, because we talk to people all the time who, and so I'm highlighting this because I know some of you listening like feel that like call, but that wait, but how can I actually follow this, right? Like I'm my parents, my family, my friends, I've worked so hard to get to XYZ.
yeah, it's a process. That's what I would say. It's a process. Like things will come over time, and as you follow the path, things start appearing and become more clear as you start walking it, I think. Like there was definitely this sense of being pushed, like I've being pushed in the back. And at some point there was a sense of like, if I don't do this, I will get hit by a bus or something. There was also that was very present. I was like, this is unavoidable type of feeling in me. And I'm not taught, like, it was really some type of body sensation that really felt like, okay, this has to happen. And so there was also that was present throughout the process.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Really, really, that feels so uncomfortable. Like such an uncomfortable place to be of like knowing you have to do this and there's a physical sensation to that, and also just such a, you said pushed on the back, gonna get hit by a bus, have to do this. It was like have to, but also part of the mind that doesn't want to let go of the ego based, is what I'm going to call it, the ego based material world.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're scheduled for a training, the training gets canceled, and you find One Breath Institute, you find us, OBI, a day before our training starts. And you connect with Debbie, and it's an instantaneous yes.
Yeah, and the amazing part was like, I don't mention anything, but Debbie being Debbie goes like, if I say shamanism, does that do anything for you? And like I was like, yes. And so like she picked up on it, even though I hadn't spoken about any of that at all, right? And so she picked up on it, and so it was really interesting to see how that unfolded. And I was just like, oh wow, like this is actually everything that I was looking for. Like it's all of the, it checks all of the boxes. I wanted trauma informed. Like it had to be breath work, and then like with Debbie and the thing, I was like, okay, this seems to like have all of the bases covered that I need. So like I'm in.
That's so funny. Debbie doing Debbie. she, yeah, she's very good at reading the space, if you will. So okay, so now you are close to completing the facilitator portion. I know you're going to continue on with us, and we're excited about that. You continuing to be part of OBI and going through the practitioner second year,
Mhm.
but you are almost to the finish line for being a facilitator. June 1st, I believe, is your final day of class.
Yes.
So you have already done all of your required one-to-ones. You've already been working with groups. You've already had opportunities come your way to be part of a festival. So I guess, I'm curious. We've already kind of touched upon just your journey. If there's anything more you want to speak to about your journey with the breath, or as a student, you're welcome to. But also, I'm curious about your journey, like what has presented itself, how things have evolved now that you've been working with people.
Um, I so my own journey with the breath was like microcosm in a sense, right? Like it's hard to describe, but like as you start working with it and in different ways, whether it's through the conscious connected breath, which is the sessions that we do, but also there was a lot of me of exploring with just other forms of breath work, which is coherent breath or breath awareness. And a lot of other, like the Pateco method and Wim Hof. And so I tried a bunch of different things. And so it was definitely for me, there was both like a very somatic, like tension in the body, realizing how my breath was, how I wasn't letting go of it, like that my breathing patterns was like a very forced exhale. Like relaxing into the exhale is not something that I did on a day-to-day basis, and how much tension I was carrying in my diaphragm and how much tension is in my psoas. And so that was all getting connected to my body and noticing through the breathwork sessions where tension would arise and where those things would happen. And so to me, that's one part of the experience, and I don't separate it from the rest. But there's definitely very much a somatic aspect of getting in touch and becoming more intimate with your own breath and your own breathing patterns. And that was, if it was just that, that was incredible. Like to me, that opened a whole world that is a, I'm fascinated by it now. Like I look at people, like I go in a room and I will look how people breathe, and I will get so much information from that now, just that what's going on with them. And so that aspect is really fun, and really great for my own personal growth, and just feeling more at ease in my body, and being able to like de-stress easier, like let go of stress and do all that. And then there's all of the personal growth that comes with the like with connecting with your breath and everything that moves in you, that like is such like it's life changing. There's really no other way to put it. Is there The realizations that you come to are things that you're unaware of, and this goes to the consciousness portion. Consciousness has everything, right? Like there you can't improve consciousness, but consciousness can be unaware. And we're and to me that was that. It's realizing all of the things I was not aware of, even though I had a great life, and I still do. But now it feels like I'm adding so much spaciousness by sort of removing the things that weren't serving me anymore, and being able to notice them. And breathwork really allowed those messages to come through, and those parts that I was unaware of to come to the surface, and to be witnessed, to be seen, and to be acknowledged, loved, and integrated in the end, right? What we want is more integration of our beings, and when we become aware of those parts, we can then give them the things that they need.
Yeah. I want to highlight that what you said, consciousness is everything. And so consciousness can also be unaware. Consciousness is also the places that we are, yeah, unaware, unconscious of. And that's, let's just say that again. Consciousness includes everything, including that which we are not aware of. Because it's kind of taught in a lot of spirituality, or kind of spoken to, that consciousness is what you're conscious of, right? And so you're speaking to something much more profound and much more true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that journey of the physical, you spoke to that, how much physical tension you weren't aware of that you were carrying, that you were able to soften into and let go. That was life changing. And how also now when you walk into a room, just that awareness of how other people are breathing gives you so much information. Yes. And then, yeah, just relaxation and like more relaxation. Why not?
Definitely.
Life-changing messages, being able to receive more. That's kind of what I got through that too. Like you received in that first breathwork session, you received that you need to be of service. And now you probably receive so much more information all the time because you are more open to receive.
Yeah, I think I described it to someone recently, and it's like there's this space you're that I felt I was operating from, where it was mostly known. Like I would go mostly out of known information, and there was intuition in there, but it was mostly coming from the known space of I have this information I can use, and so I'm going to make these decisions based on the information I can use. And there's this 20-30% that's coming from I don't know where that is happening. And it feels like that has now shifted, where there's a lot more unknown coming in that is directing what's happening versus the known information. And so it's like developing this sense for what is present that you're aware of on another level, but your mind can't give it like can't put it in a box and put a little bow on it, and just like there's a sense of I don't I know but I don't understand. And understanding is not required. Right? Like
Right. Can we let go of that need?
yes, very much so. Like the need that we have to like, scratch at it and like really understand what's going on, versus operating from this place of okay, something in me knows, but I don't understand where this is coming from or what it is, but I'm going to put it out there and see what happens. And then lo and behold, like it works.
Yeah. So trust. That's the word that's
Yeah,
highlighted for me,
definitely.
is just trust, right?
And so it's been learning to get those insights, get those messages from the breath work and from like even in my own personal direction, getting sort of a sense of, oh, like I think I need to do an experiment with this, right? Like right now I'm experimenting with desire and I'm like, I don't know where this leads, but like I something in me tells me I have to play with this. And so what is it, right? And go exploring there. And so yeah, those little things that come up, and to me I think it's brought a lot more freedom. It's brought in a lot more freedom in my day to day to give in to those impulses of like picking up a flute and just making sounds with it. And like where I know is like in the past I would have judged myself like, oh, I'm not good. And I'm like, the point is not to be good. Like the point is to have fun. And so changing those perspectives slowly over time and starting to tap into other ways of doing things that like getting out of the rut, getting out of the pattern, and seeing what lies when you start playing with that, and letting go of patterns that don't serve you anymore necessarily. And there's been a lot of that in the last like, and on top of connecting with a bunch of other things that are like a bit, that are really really like connecting to oneness and those things that I've had in breathwork experiences. So there's also those things that are moving, and so it's so much, and that's what I want to bring is that like the what I love about one breath is that the incentive to stay curious, like the invitation to stay curious at all times for us, but also for what's going on for the people we work with, has been one of the greatest tools that I've brought, I think, to the sessions where people will ask like, can I do this thing? And I'm like, let's do this thing. And to get curious about what's moving for them in that moment, right? And just being, I don't know where this leads, but it feels like that's what you're called to. So let's jump into this thing and see what happens, right? And seeing the variety of those, what is this specific, like replacing by whatever, the variety of what those experiences are and what people like feel called to do in that moment is has been like really eye opening as to how the wide variety of experiences that happen during breath work.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for highlighting that, because that's the thing. That is the thing. That is the thing. Like, it's definitely breath. It's definitely breath work, but it's also, I think we throw a lot of people off, or it might be kind of a hard concept for people to understand what we're actually doing when we when we're when we're talking about the program, because it is so much permission giving, and that
Mm-hmm.
permission giving and curiosity is because I don't know. I can never know what is best. Even sometimes I generally know what's best for myself, but there's also a divine intelligence coming through, and
Mm-hmm.
I could be lying to myself, right?
Yeah.
So as an expert, right? And people are always looking to the experts, they will look to the expert to know and to guide, right? For am I doing this right? Is this how this goes? Like, you tell me what to do. And it's like, when we're able to trust ourselves and trust in the intelligence, I'll just say the intelligence of what we're working with, because that
Mm-hmm.
encapsulates a lot. Then yeah, there's curiosity, there's playfulness, and then through the exploration that the other person brings, that you have given permission to.
Yeah, definitely. And there's that piece about like I can see how the work that I've done on me to be more open and to be able to meet the world with curiosity shows up in my sessions where there's things that are showing up and I'm like, "Oh, I can hold this now because I've been in contact with that in other settings and I've worked with this energy before when it shows up." And so I can see also how the work that we're doing allows us to hold, and I like it to think of holding space like it's a container. And the way that I like to see it is that if I put something in the container, then the person, it gives something for the person to hook onto to avoid meeting themselves. But if I hold the container where there's only them in the container, and I'm not bringing me in the container, then they're forced to meet themselves because that's the only thing that is there. And so having done the work and being able to step back and to hold that space and to not leave something in the container as you're holding that space. And so that's what I call doing the work on yourself, so that when things show up, your things don't also are not also in the container, and you're able to play with them and meet them with curiosity and do that, right? And so like that's also what happens as I start doing the sessions, is I start seeing how all of those little bits that move for me, now when they're moving for other people, I'm able to meet them differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a breath. Okay. We could talk all day.
I feel like we could.
So we'll come back and we'll do it again later. But for now, what are you most excited about? Like what direction do you're going to be graduated soon. You're going to be a
Yes.
facilitator. You're going to be working in Montreal and maybe online. You're making this career. So what do you want to say about that? Like, what direction does it look like you're going right now?
Yeah. So by some, I was invited for my practice sessions to do breath work with two men's circle that like out of the blue reached out to me and were like, "Hey, like we have this thing. Would you like to offer that?" And I've been definitely called to do men's work and work with men because I think that the world needs it. I think that men need to do the work on themselves. We need to stop bringing everything to our partners. Unfortunately, very often the only emotional connection that we truly have where we can be vulnerable is with our partners. And so I feel that my work right now is really to start deepening the work with men. And I think breathwork is a great way, and I've now seen it in demonstration where the shares from people who have been in circle together for a long time were sharing that like this was probably the most vulnerable that they've all felt together, and that this has created something new in terms of like they felt like this was the beginning of something new in terms of the group dynamic of showing up from a space of deeper vulnerability. And so I really feel called to do broad work with men, but also to start doing work with men's circle, and also through the spaces that we facilitate in Montreal, there's also this connection where what we notice is that there is this deep fear in men of other men. And so starting
Wow, wow,
to
wow.
work with that and to deconstruct like the fear that we have of each other, which is really, really profound. It's most often in men, when you go to the core wound, it's a core wound that's been inflicted by another man. Even if, like, let's say it was the mom that was potentially being, let's say, someone was in a relationship and their stepmom or their mom was the one that was. It somehow gets translated to where was my dad to protect me? Why didn't my dad protect me? And yes, there's that wound, but there's that other wound that usually is less apparent and then goes unaddressed and unhealed.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I really feel called to yeah, have that work, like, yeah, figure help and work with myself and with other men, figure out how to access vulnerability and how to show up. And I will take some wise words that I didn't say, and it was said by someone that was saying maybe not maximum vulnerability all of the time, and the answer from the facilitator was nobody plays hockey with their balls out.
Right.
and,
Right. Right.
and I feel like there's great wisdom in that like there are spaces to bring that vulnerability, and maybe not maximum vulnerability all of the time. And I feel like with some men, when they start accessing it, there's so much that it becomes maximum vulnerability all of the time. And we need to dose those things, and we need to find together how and where to bring that vulnerability for it to be received and nurtured in the way that it should be.
Yeah, in that nice, safe container.
And so that's where I feel called right now.
No, it's so beautiful because, I have done a lot of work with men myself, and I'm a woman, so I know it's always going to be different facilitating for a man than a man facilitating a man. But I just, as you were speaking, I'm connecting with, what you're saying to be true. Men, I need water. Tea. Okay, so yeah, men need the work, and men don't have enough safe spaces where they can show up and be held, and there's so much pressure put on men by society to be a certain way, right? Like, suck it up, don't feel, just that, be a man,
Yeah.
like what is this, be a man? I mean, be a man. uh there's so much more to being a man than what is projected onto men. So thank you for stepping into this role, and I know you're going to do amazing things. You're already doing amazing things. I know you're going to do big things.
I'm looking forward to what are the next what are the things that are going to unfold in the future.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that too, and I'm so glad I get to still be part of your journey. Max, find breath. Find breath. They can find you at Find Breath. You
Yeah,
can
on
find
every
Max at Find Breath.
yes, I'm on every platform right now. I'm at Find Breath, whether it's Instagram, Facebook. My YouTube channel is also at Find Breath. So yeah, definitely that's the handle. Um, and I think we're closing, so I can say this. I was given my first breath. I didn't take it. Didn't have air for 60 seconds at birth, and so my first breath was given to me. I had to find my breath, and now I want to help others find theirs, and that's where Find Breath came from.
I just want to hold that. I just want to hold it like a baby. Wow, first breath was given to you, so now you help others find their breath.
I'm
Yes,
giving
you do.
back what was given to me.
Do you have any other wise words you want to share in closing?
Um, yeah, just trust yourself. There's deep wisdom in there, and we all have that. And yeah, accessing that and trusting that intuition that's deep in you. I think that's what I would say to everyone. Just trust what's there.
All right, perfect. Let's take a breath. Well, thank you, Max, for
Thank
taking
you,
the
Lisa.
time to speak with me today. And thank you to all of you who are watching us live. And thank you to all who will connect with this broadcast in the future. See you soon.
See you.